welcome to Deck Analysis and Testing. This time we are looking at ALTERGEIST. ALTERGEIST is a trap deck. They aim to set up an advantage engine that pumps out monsters in both players' turns. They bounce cards on a quick effect and also negate back row. Their monsters don't really have a lot of attack, which makes this deck really slow, but if you open with a good hand, this deck can still slowly but surely grind your opponent entirely and deal a little bit of damage turn after turn until eventually your opponent gives up and scoops. Let's have a look at the cards. First is our Conquery. This card is used to block your opponent's attacks. When your opponent attacks, you can special summon this card from your hand and negate that attack. Also, if it's special summoned, you can negate a face-up card your opponent controls as long as this card remains on the field. Next is a Multi-Figure, probably our best main deck monster. If you activate a trap card, you can special summon this card from your hand, and also if it's special summoned, you could special summon another ALTERGEIST monster from your deck, but also you cannot activate this effect if you have special summoned a monster other than an ALTERGEIST monster during the turn you use this effect. This is a really important lock that you have to keep in mind because it comes up a lot. Next is ALTERGEIST Meluseek. This is a level 1 that can attack directly, and if it does, you can target one card your opponent controls and set it to the graveyard. It doesn't destroy, which is really nice. And also, if it's sent to the graveyard from the field, you can add a ALTERGEIST monster from your deck to your hand, except for Meluseek. This is another way you can search your Multi-Figure, which is your best monster, by normal summoning it and then linking it off for a link 1. Next is ALTERGEIST Silquitus. So the level 2 one has a quick effect to return one other ALTERGEIST card you control back to the hand and target one card your opponent controls and return that to the hand as well. And also if this card is sent to the graveyard from the field, you can add an ALTERGEIST trap from the graveyard back to your hand. This is mainly used for its quick effect. It's really good as a disruption, and this is your main target for you to summon using your Multi-Figure. Next is the traps. We don't play any spells because this is a trap deck, so we don't really need to play any spells. First is Deinonymiscus. This is a trap that is also from the same box as the ALTERGEIST cards. So we were playing a single copy. It's just a really good trap overall. It lets you discard a card to banish a face-up card on the field, which is really nice. Next is Personal Spoofing. We can get this card from the card trader. It's limited to 1 because it has a really good search effect. Once per turn, you can shuffle an ALTERGEIST card from your hand or face-up field to the main deck and add one ALTERGEIST monster from your deck to your hand. It's really good to continuously grab stuff from your deck, and also if you grab Multi-Figure with this effect, you can immediately summon it if you use Personal Spoofing as soon as it is flipped face up because of weird rulings. Next is 3 copies of ALTERGEIST Manifestation. You don't really need to play 3 copies if you have the other ALTERGEIST monster that's not from the same box. If you're playing Marionetta, which is from the older box, you don't need to play that many manifestations. I'm only playing 3 because we're not playing this in the free-to-play version. This card lets you reborn a ALTERGEIST from a graveyard and equip itself to that monster. And also, it has another effect to banish this card from the graveyard and then add back another ALTERGEIST trap from your graveyard back to your hand. This is really good, and it has a little bit of interactions with your other cards that have a quick effect that remove your cards from your field. So for example, if you activate your manifestation, you can chain your Personal Spoofing to you can chain Personal Spoofing to shuffle back your manifestation, and the reborn effect will still resolve, and you basically get a free summon, plus you get back your trap, and you get it back to your deck. Or you can use your quick effect of your level 2 ALTERGEIST to chain it when you activate your manifestation, and then bounce back the manifestation, and still get your free summon. Next is 3 copies of Power Sink Stone. This is basically skill drain, but it only works if a monster effect is activated 2 times while it's a face-up on the field, because that way it gains 2 counters, and it only works when it has 2 counters on it. So what you do is you activate Power Sink Stone in your opponent's draw phase, and then you activate Multi-Figure from your hand. That's effect number 1, and then Multi-Figure hits the field and activates its effect, and that's effect number 2, and summons a monster from your deck. It could be something like a Meluseek, and this will give the Power Sink Stone 2 counters, and it's basically a skill drain, so your opponent can't activate any monster effects as long as this card is on the field, which is pretty good. Next is 2 copies of Hallow the Life Barrier, because this deck is not very consistent. We are also relying on our skill, Draw Send Stock, to grab ourselves the Multi-Faker. So Hallow the Life Barrier will help us control the life points that we take. Next is 3 copies of Cloak and Dagger. Another good piece of synergy this card has, in particular with Altergeist, is that you can flip this card face up as soon as your opponent tries to destroy it. So for example, if your opponent has a Cosmic Cyclone and tries to destroy it as soon as they start their turn, you can still flip Cloak and Dagger up even though it's not going to do anything, because by flipping this card face up, you could trigger your Multi-Faker from your hand and you can still summon it before your opponent can do anything. Next is 1 copy of Altergeist Emulate Telf. This card can special summon itself as an effect monster, and if it's summoned while in the monster zone, other Altergeist traps you control cannot be destroyed by card effects and also cannot be targeted by card effects. This is basically a searchable free summon that's also a trap which triggers Multi-Faker. It's just a good monster overall. For our extra deck, we are mainly only summoning 1 monster, maybe 2. We're gonna mainly use Hextia. This card is really good. It's a link 2. It needs 2 Altergeist monsters. It gains attack equal to the original attack of the Altergeist monster it points to, so it's basically like Crusaders. And as a quick effect, and not a once per turn, you can tribute an Altergeist monster it points to negate a spell or trap and destroy that card. Also, if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you add any Altergeist card from your deck to your hand. This is really good. So we were playing 3 copies. You could, in theory, summon multiple onto your field, even though that might be pretty hard without some of the Altergeist support that we don't have in Duel Links. But if you have multiple of this card, you could set up a board with Hextias with a lot of attack and also a bunch of spell and trap negates. The next important Link monster is Linkuriboh. Its effects don't really matter, but it's nice. I mean, you could negate your opponent's attack technically. It doesn't negate, but like it turns their attack to 0. But we use Linkuriboh to link off Metalseek. So Metalseek can search Multi-Faker by just normal summoning itself and then using it as a link 1. And the other links are honestly not very important. You don't even need to play the link 3 Altergeist. I don't really summon it that often. And we're also playing other generic links like Power Code, plus Lumino, and the regular Code Talker. But we also won't summon those too often because Multi-Faker doesn't let you summon anything other than Altergeist the turn you activate its effect. For the skill, we are playing Draw Send Stock. You probably know what this does. It basically helps us grab a Multi-Faker easily because we don't have a lot of ways to search it in the free-to-play version. Here we have the expensive version of the deck. We are obviously playing a bunch of much better traps like Bottomless and Warning Point. We're also playing 3 copies of Metalseek. You could in theory play fewer copies of Metalseek and play more copies of other limit free traps. I like playing 3 Metalseek because it's consistent. It helps you get your Multi-Faker easier. And for the extra deck, we're playing 1 less copy of Hextia in favor of some of the better generic links like Nightmare Unicorn, Nightmare Phoenix, and even cards like Ningirsu. We're also playing a copy of Artemis because this card does let us link using any of low-level Altergeist because they're all spellcasters. And of course, we're also playing 2 copies of Marionetta because this card is really good, but it's from a different box. That's why we're not playing it in the free-to-play version. This card, when normal summoned, can set Altergeist trap directly from a deck, and also you can target 1 Altergeist card you control and 1 Altergeist monster in your graveyard, send the first card to the graveyard, and then special summon the second one from your graveyard, and both effects are harder once per turn. And for the skill, we're playing Personal Spoofing. This skill is actually not really good. I am considering not using this skill in the future, because this skill is actually pretty hard to use because it requires you to have an Altergeist Link monster in your main monster zone, not your extra monster zone, your main monster zone. And this lets you set Personal Spoofing, which is really good. We only have 1 copy of Personal Spoofing, so it's really nice to give us a free copy of Personal Spoofing without having to draw it. And also this card is actually not searchable because it's technically not an Altergeist card. It doesn't have Altergeist in its name. But during this turn, the set card cannot be activated, and you cannot special summon link monsters. So yeah, there are actually quite a bit of skill options you can use with this deck, because this deck doesn't really require a skill to work. You could use Life Point Boost Alpha, you could use a Draw Sense like the free-to-play version. You can use the skill, even though I don't think the skill is really good, and also you have to grind for the skill, which I did, and it's not fun, and it's not worth it at all. But yeah, you have a lot of options for your skills, so be sure to try each of them out and see which one fits you the most. Okay, let's have a look at the replays. The first game we are playing against Heroes, and we are going first. We're also playing Akiza, because it's funny, and also we can use the Black Rose Dragon playmat, and hopefully we can like mislead our opponent into thinking that we're playing Rose Dragons and we bricked really hard. But we do have Multi-Faker in our hand, which is wonderful. We can Cloak and Dagger as soon as he summons a Neos, and we're going to call Kluger. And also that lets us summon a Multi-Faker and then summon the level 2, which I won't attempt to pronounce, and activate its effect to bounce back the Neos, so he can't grab Super Poly and fuse our entire board away. He is still going to activate a Neos Fusion to make Kluger. Did you read Cloak and Dagger? Anyway, he gets banished and he sets 2 and pass. We're going to activate another Cloak and Dagger. We're going to declare Neos in case he wants to summon it next turn. We're going to activate Multi-Figure from my hand to summon a Melseek, and then use those 2 to make Hextia. And Melseek, when it's sent to the graveyard, we can activate its effect to search. He tries to Bottomless, we will negate that with our Hextia by attributing a monster that it points to. We're going to grab our Conquery and set a copy of Manifestation and pass it back to him. We actually can't really deal a lot of damage. He's not going to summon Neos, he's going to summon Ubel, which is fine. We can still Manifestation to get Multi-Faker and then get another copy of the level 2 to bounce his Ubel back to the hand. And then he's going to grab Super Poly, which doesn't really do anything because he doesn't have a Neos on field. He's going to try to make a Neos on field by activating his Miracle Contact, which we will negate. So he has no Neos on field to activate his Super Poly. And now we're just gonna normal summon a monster and attack. And that's game. Okay, in our second game, we are going first again. Of course, obviously as a trap that we love going first. And this time we do have access to Multi-Figure again by linking off our Melseek to grab a copy of Multi-Figure from our deck. And we also have a Power Sync Stone. Let me show you what this card does. We're going to activate Power Sync Stone in his standby phase to special summon a Multi-Figure from our hand. That's effect number 1. Effect number 2 will special summon another monster from our deck, and that gives it 2 counters, and now our opponent cannot activate any monster effects. But unfortunately for us, they're not playing a lot of monster effects. They're playing Dark Magician, which means the only effect that we can negate is probably going to be the Rod. He is going to activate his circle and grab a trap, and he's going to set 2 and pass, and during the end phase when the Power Sync Stone removes its counters, we can still have an opportunity to activate our own monster effects to bounce one of his back row back to the hand, and then we're going to attack for a very small amount of damage, and then before we end our turn we can bounce the other set back row back to his hand, so he's going to have to set it again and wait another turn. During his draw phase, we're gonna special summon Multi-Figure by activating Personal Spoofing, not actually activating its effect, just flipping it face up. So we're gonna gain 2 counters again and prevent him from searching anything with his Rod. And unfortunately, this also prevents us from activating our own monster effects on the field because it negates both sides, so we can't really bounce his stuff during his turn. But we can still special summon our Conqueror to block one of his attacks. We're gonna make a Hextia and link summon a Code Talker to trigger the effect of Hextia when it's sent to the graveyard to grab ourselves a Manifestation, because we don't really have access to our Altergeist monsters right now. We're gonna clear our back row by activating a copy of Hallow the Life Barrier so we can set our Manifestation, and then we're gonna normal summon our level 2 Altergeist and just attack over his monster. When he tries to attack, we can special summon our Hextia, and then we will chain level 2, and that's how you can see the interaction goes. We can still bounce the trap, and the trap will still let us summon a monster even though it's not in the field anymore. So after that, because we activated a trap, we can summon the multi-figure that we searched with our personal spoofing, and even though its effect is negated, so we can't summon from our deck, it's fine, it's just a free monster, it's always nice to have a free monster. We're gonna shuffle back the manifestation to grab ourselves to level 2, and we're just gonna attack, and yeah, that's lethal. It is time for Game 3, and you know what that means. It's time for the expensive version of the deck. We're not going first, which is worrying, because all of our traps only activate when your opponent summons a monster. And you're gonna do a lot of summoning this turn, and we're gonna not be able to counter any of them. We're gonna draw a card, it's something I guess. We're gonna link away our Metalseek to make a Link Kuriboh, and we're gonna use Metalseek to grab a multi-figure to our hand. We're gonna set free, we're gonna hope our opponent summons something. He's gonna summon something, but I can't really bottomless this, and I also don't want to warning point this because he could just tag it out. So we're gonna take a bit of damage. We're gonna force him to use his Rapid Shiromaru by attacking with our level 2. He's gonna activate his effect. We're gonna activate Bottomless to destroy it. He's still going to search because it doesn't negate, but it lets us activate the multi-figure that we have in our hand and special summon another monster from our deck. We're gonna activate the level 2 to bounce his monster. He's going to chain chase, so he gets rid of Metalseek before he gets removed. And we're gonna deal 800 damage. Nice, I guess. He's gonna activate his field spell to grab himself a retroactive. And then he's gonna normal summon a Rapid Shiromaru. He's gonna use the chase effect to avoid banishing his own cards from his hand. He's going to have Platina, which we will warning point. That will negate his effect. And hopefully end his turn. We will summon back the multi-figure that we bounce back and summon back another Metalseek. And unfortunately, he does have a trap, so he could still make a monster. And we're gonna bounce back our own multi-figure before his Gravitino hits the field, because if Gravitino is on the field and on the same column as a multi-figure, if you try to bounce our multi-figure, it gets banished, which is not nice. But next turn, we do have Marionetta, so we can set Altergeist traps from our deck. We will make Hextia in a zone that points to our own Altergeist. He will try to compulse, but because we have a monster in the link point, we could negate the compulse and destroy it. And we're gonna attack for 1500. And that's still not lethal. So we're gonna have another turn. It's turn 7 right now. We're gonna activate trap monster during his draw phase and summon a whole bunch of monsters in case he tries to activate a spell or trap as the first thing he's gonna do. He's gonna normal summon, we bounce his normal summon, and that will be game.